All right, welcome back, everybody. Today is October 17th. It is a Tuesday. Today I'm going to be going back and forth between the PowerPoint slides you see here on the screen right now and also Canvas, so you can see some of the resources I have available for you there. Today's discussion was kind of about picking up the war where we left off on Monday and also on Friday, looking at the four main causes. We're going to look at the spark of the war that starts it off. But the question for the bell ring today is, how would you describe being neutral in an argument, a battle? Being neutral is something that you don't take sides on either sides of any argument or any battle whatsoever. You kind of try to stay in the middle, try to keep the sides, fighting amongst themselves and not bringing you involved. And as long as you're not helping out one side or the other, you'll be in good shape to stay and remain neutral. All right, so that's kind of about neutrality. We're going to get to that aspect of neutrality a little bit here, probably today, if not tomorrow's class. So we'll go over it a little bit as well. All right. What I did for you as well is kind of picked up where we left off on Monday, because we looked at the four main causes here. We looked at, alliances, nationalism, militarism, and also imperialism. These four things do not start the war on their own. However, they help lay the groundwork for expanding the size of the war. So when we look at the cause of the war, we're actually going to look at a development here, which is on your Canvas page. If you go all the way down here, you can see the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, who was the Archduke of Austria-Hungary. You open that document up, read through that, and kind of see what we're talking about here. As you're reading that, bring this map up to give yourself a better understanding, especially if you want to pay attention to this bottom part right here. But it kind of goes through the story of the assassination of Franz Ferdinand by Gavrilo Princip, who was a Serbian national terrorist, who was represented by this group called the Black Hand. But essentially what this spark is all about is that the assassination occurs of Franz Ferdinand. He's the Austro-Hungarian heir to the throne, which means he's second in line. Gavrilo Princip is a Slavic terrorist from Serbia. The reason why I say Slavic here is because a lot of the countries like Russia, Ukraine, Serbia, Croatia, a lot of those countries around that area are Slavic in descent. So, they represent and they relate to each other in similar, if not language, it's different cultural similarities. So we see this stuff there. Now, once this assassination occurs, Austria-Hungary asked Serbia as a nation to publicly and verbally denounce the Black Hand's actions of their acts of terrorism. The problem is Serbia does not recognize the group. And as a result, Austria-Hungary sees this as an act of defiance. Thus, they declare war on Serbia, which I said is a Slavic nation. This declaration occurs on July 28th, 1914. Now, the rest of the class, today we went through different excerpts of this, and I'm going to go through here. We looked at the size of the war. If you actually go to your textbook pages, I have it on here on Canvas. Again, if you go to the World War I section of Canvas, I'm asking you to kind of read through pages 416 to 418 about the conflict expands, in terms of how you get the sense of how the war unfolded. And then as you read that, kind of read that section, it's stalemate. It is the modern warfare, or modern technology used in modern warfare. That section right there, if you just finish that up, you'll be able to get an understanding how this war unfolded and how the sides kind of took to each other, kind of were at each other's throats very early. But Austria-Hungary declares war on Serbia, on July 28th. Serbia asked Russia and France to get involved in the war, and Germany is asked by Austria-Hungary to get in the war as well. Now, the important part about this is that through these first few days of the war, these five countries are now involved in the war. On August 4th, not like almost a week later, Britain gets involved. So the idea that, all these alliances that occur and all the motivations and all the invasions and just the mobilization of the army, it's very, very quick for a war this early in history, at least for the technology that they had available in terms of communications and also travel. So the fact that these wars started that quickly and kind of built up to this size within a week of the war starting, this is pretty impressive in terms of the scope and the scale. So we got the growth of the war. Here's kind of how the war played out on the sides. Great Britain, France, Russia, and Serbia are the beginning countries here. Germany and Austria-Hungary are also nations. You will read, if you read the excerpt, that Italy, Romania also join in the side of the Allies. Greece also joins in as well as Portugal, But then you have the Ottoman Empire and Bulgaria siding with the Central Powers here in Europe. Notice there are several countries that are left neutral. Switzerland is neutral. Belgium, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, they're left neutral as well. However, Germany uses Belgium as a access point to get into France, because the defensive measures here and France are very, very difficult to pass. So they go through Belgium. As you can see with the bulge of this red line here, they got much farther into France than if they would have tried to go through here. So what happens is, because Belgium is a neutral country and is protected by international law, once Germany invades Belgium, that's what brings Great Britain into the war. So Great Britain gets pulled in a little bit later, but again, Germany invades Belgium less than a week involved in the war. So this shows you how ready Germany was to fight. And they just were really eager to get out of war, and they wanted to fight. They wanted to get territories that Britain and France owned around the world. And this is really a massive undertaking by the Germans to really take a first step of winning this war and just try to preemptively end it before it even really gets started. And the problem is, once the British and French finally catch up with their preparations, they stop here at the trench lines here, as we see with the red line down here. But this is where the trenches are set up at, and we kind of get the idea of how warfare was like. I read this section in class as well. You can pause it and read through it, but this is why the war killed so many men. 13 million people died because most of the militaries thought they were so attuned to the other's actions that by the time they realized that we're using our enemy's actions from the last war, and by the time they realize that is wrong, it's too late and millions have already died. So by the time they figure it out, there's the great loss of life, and it's appalling as to how many people lose their lives. I believe the British on one given day lose about 20,000 men. So it is a massive amount of loss of life. So we read this section. You can pause it and read through it to kind of see why it was this war was really messed up in its planning and its preparations. But at least the theoretical planning and strategy of the war, how messed up that was. The military aspect in terms of the guns that were used, very, very efficient, very effective. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just the strategy that they put with those weapons. That's what kills so many men. We also read in the book about stalemate. Because each nation believed the war would be over by Christmas in 1914, 5 months after the beginning of the war. They believed that power and numbers would also rule the war. Again, in wars like the Civil War and Revolutionary War, the more soldiers you had, that means the more guns you had, which means every time you shot a round of fire within your side, more bullets were going towards the enemy, which means you had the possibility of killing more people. So power and numbers would really win the war. However, when you have weapons like the machine gun and artillery, tanks, gas, power and numbers means nothing against the machine gun that can fire 450 rounds a minute. So that's what we look at here. So we also, when we read through page 417 to 418, the military technology, when it changes all that, I ask at the end of class kind of how you would break the stalemate. Now, to give you some understanding of what we read and other resources that we've looked at in class, we looked at some other readings in class. I put some videos up here on Canvas that you can take a look at. First one here is one dealing with life in the trenches. You can watch this. Just click on the link on Canvas. And also the one looks at the effects of technology on weaponry, looking at these new pieces of technology and why this made World War I so deadly. So use this to your advantage. If you have any questions, please don't be afraid to get back to me. We just finished this for the day. It was just kind of a basic information day. Just, talking, discussing, reading, watching back and forth. So it was really, really tough to get this stuff, and it was really nice for us to see how this kind of worked out. All right. If you have any other questions, please get back to me. Thank you very much.